The footballing hype train is a dangerous thing. The destination is announced far too early, with little thought given to what lies along the track ahead. We've seen it so many times. The media pile into the carriages, pen in hand, ready to write the headlines before crashing at the first stop. A victim of this in recent times is one Stephan El Shaarawy, at one point the media darling of Italy. He was dubbed the Future of Gli Azzurri by his 17th birthday. Hailing from the seaport city of Savona, the half-Egyptian, half-Italian was something of a late starter, kicking things off with US Luigi before rounding out his youth development in Genoa, aged 14. It was here he picked up his nickname, Il Faraone, the Pharaoh, and making waves in the under-17s, then under-19s for club and country. He was getting up the ladder fast, even to the point where the coach took a chance on the 16-year-old for one of the youngest ever debuts in Serie A. Jumping in fully had to wait though, and in 2010, having steered the under-19s to silverware, a loan to the second tier was arranged. Moving across the north of the boot, the Primavera prodigy came to life on that left flank, making Padova doubly as dangerous upon setting foot. Rapid, skilled and agile, with an audacious haircut, the youngster appeared to be a typical winger, but as the months passed, he offered something more. El Shaarawy's lack of a weak foot and habit of cutting in suggested he was well suited for the second striker role, from which position he started deciding games. Drawing eyes every time he beat the keeper, the variety of strikes spelled out just how unique this 18-year-old was. Linking up tiki-taka style with sharp interplay, Padova were playing wondrous football at times, and it was all thanks to this kid. In the playoff semis, his double in Varese lit the path to Serie A, and though it was ultimately walked by Novara, he'd made his case to the big stage. The league MVP award certified his standing as Italy's future star, so where else to go but the champions? Like United with the English and Bayern with Germans, AC Milan have long been first in line for Italy's most promising young talent, and with Il Faraone's fandom of Kaká, the offer didn't need to be on the table for long. Yet his first minutes came that September. That was down to the stacked squad of the Scudetto holders, with cutthroat competition for places especially in attack. So for a not yet 19-year-old, it was an early crash course in top flight reality. When another muscle strain buckled Alex Pato 20 minutes in at San Siro, the new boy came on for a home debut with plenty of time to make an impact. Though it was a one-off. He picked up minutes here and there, scattered between long spells on the bench, and despite seeing flashes of brilliance, Allegri held him back. Until the new year, when the Coppa Italia knockouts came around, and rotation gave the teen a run out where, with regular starts, he swayed the coach. Weighing the option of a loan, this brief but encouraging spell convinced the club that they were looking at the future of Milan. And it was a future they badly needed. Juve had pulled ahead, the group was a year older, and a mass exodus was imminent. After 10 years, the spine of the team was about to crack. Not just the retirees, but the cream of their crop was offloaded as Galliani, the VP, balanced the books by axing a major chunk of the core group. You could see why they opted for him. A marketable superstar in the making, someone kids both related to and aspired to be. With his trademark look and cult status on FIFA, there was more to him than just footballing talent. Signing a 5-year deal, El Shaarawy's place was now written in ink, and for that he rewarded their faith. El Shaarawy! It made no difference whether coming off the left, right or through the middle. The 92 found himself in the pockets that had defenders sweating. His acceleration from a standstill was alarming, catching out markers who couldn't even get close enough to foul him. The Pharaoh was thriving whatever he did. On the wing he could drop his man with whatever skill he fancied, and even seemed to enjoy tracking back, while around the box his movement was subtle and well timed. His finishing, once a point of critique, had clearly seen work, keeping shots low and hard as every coach will demand, right or left-footed.
El Shaarawy, done it again!
With a flair for the spectacular too, his playing style was getting compared to the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar, though more of a practical trickster and not a show pony. The maturity and level of consistency for someone so young was shocking. Milan couldn't believe their luck. By Christmas, he was averaging a goal per game, matching Marco van Basten's record for the most scored in the first 15 matches of a Serie A season. Also bagging his first in the blue of his national team, everything had fallen into place, and in the new year, Galliani gifted him with a strike partner. It was a duo built on contrast. Super Mario was the flame, hot-tempered and wild, El Shaarawy the frost, and while cohesive in theory, something didn't quite click. Facing fatigue from an explosive start and now sharing the responsibility, the winger dropped into first gear for the campaign's second half, blanking completely after February. It was very concerning, but couldn't overshadow a breakthrough season that saw him end as Milan's leading scorer and Serie A's Young Player of the Year. A perfect summer, featuring in the Confederations Cup for Italy and securing Champions League qualification, was followed by misery. A muscle tear was the first blow, but a metatarsal fracture was the one that put him under the knife and ruled out his World Cup debut. One start in 9 months was quite the change of pace, suffocating his fire, and upon his return El Shaarawy's confidence was drained. The team he came back to looked very different. Milan hadn't recruited well and was suffering because of it. Inzaghi was now the gaffer, and with Balotelli gone he put the emphasis back on the 92, who that November curled home a goal a la El Shaarawy for a first time in 622 days. His downfall had correlated with the club's, so the Pharaoh's awakening encouraged fans to believe again. Yet the future they waited for was put on hold, as just when his momentum picked up speed, the foot fracture derailed him for another 3 months. Too fragile to risk starting, the 21-year-old couldn't hide his frustration and was loaned out in the summer of 2015 to AS Monaco, hoping a year in the tax haven would refresh him. It didn't. A grim run in Monte Carlo saw him go goalless in 15 Ligue 1 appearances, and though the Italian found the net in Europe, he'd barely scratched the surface of expectations. They cut his trip short, shipping him back in January for Roma to see out the rest of the loan. In a much better state than his parent club, the Giallorossi, now under Luciano Spalletti, were experimenting with all sorts of formations and could use someone as versatile and hard-working as El Shaarawy. Attempting to revive his career, he came to the capital robbed of any ego, ready to roll up his sleeves. For his opener at the Olimpico, he wasn't a winger, but a wide midfielder who had to help out the 3 defenders at the back before bombing forward to arrive in the box. The Romans were short-staffed on the left side, so with goals and graft, the Savonese became an instant staple of what was now a brilliant 11. With the likes of Miralem Pjanic feeding him through, Mohamed Salah on the opposite flank and Edin Dzeko the target man, he'd not been a part of a group like this since his first year in the black and red. His relentless running, positive spirit and 10-goal contributions saw them go unbeaten in Serie A for those 16 games since he arrived, so they signed him. El Shaarawy had found a new home, confident once again, and not yet in his mid-20s, the road ahead seemed limitless. The next 3 seasons were spent doing exactly what he wanted, playing week in week out for a top Italian side, scoring or providing with enough frequency to boost Roma and garner the attention of the national selectors. Back to his brilliant best, his goals were as applause-worthy as ever, while his assists were perfectly timed and precisely weighted. More well-rounded in every sense, the star boy had become a star man. All of this was made possible by Roma's protection of him. Knowing his past, Spalletti and then Di Francesco didn't exhaust him, and thus he avoided those long spells in the stands. Proving to shine much brighter to the side of the spotlight, Ilupi brought the team player out of him, and though capable of a match winner, it was his doggedness and fight that stood out to the Romanisti. Finishing the season in June 2019 as the club's top scorer, the little Pharaoh made another bold move, cashing in with a transfer to the Chinese Super League. This deal would net Roma almost €20 million and obviously benefit the 26-year-old financially as well, but felt like a step back for a man in form. It turned out this was just an expensive loan, as after a year of COVID, he looped back to the warm embrace of the Eternal City. This is where he's been for over 4 years now, still a reliable squad player that every coach seemingly has a place for. Adding some more stunners to his career catalogue and even ending Roma's decade-long trophy drought, El Shaarawy extended his Gilarossi legacy as he closed out his 20s. It's hard to see Il Faraone as a veteran or as anything but that mohawk teenager who once lit up Serie A. Yet now 32, he's approaching the twilight of a career that veered onto a very different track than many expected or hoped for. By the time he was 17, people had already written his story for him, and when he first arrived at Milanello, they were ready to publish, but hadn't taken the key parameters into account. It's a shame his rise coincided with the fall of Milan, and a pity his injuries came so thick and fast. But even with all the promises left unfulfilled, this immensely gifted player has etched his place in the heart of a generation.